Welcome to the Dose of Good podcast, where we celebrate good people and organizations working to make the world a better place. It can be easy to get caught up in the bad things going on in the world and forget about the good happening all around us each and every day. I'm your host, Erin, and I want to share these stories with you and give them the attention they deserve. I hope this podcast educates and inspires you and maybe even motivates you to share a dose of good in your community. Now let's get into today's episode. Today I speak with Jean Manley from 100 Women Who Care, Spread the Love. And this is an organization that is all over the country, but has local branches basically. And this is 100 women that care, but there are 100 people who care, 100 men who care, other variations. And the idea is, well, I'll let Jean tell you the idea and the concept, but it is a simple concept that can have a really big impact for nonprofits. It also helps you to learn about local nonprofits in your area. So I hope you enjoy learning more about this great organization, and let's just get right into it. Today I'm here with Jean Manley from 100 Women Who Care, Spread the Love. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Sure. So can you tell us about 100 Women Who Care? What is it exactly and how does it work?
100 Women That Care is an organization. It's completely grassroots organization, a no money organization, we call it, that our goal is to raise money for nonprofits that are local. And so the idea is if you could get 100 women together and they each chipped in $100 a quarter, you could give away $10,000. And so we're not quite at 100 women yet, but our latest donation is over $6,700. And so it's a quick, easy way to just take your $100 and make a huge impact on a local organization.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what someone else who was on the podcast told me about it, because I think they were one of the nonprofits that had benefited from it. And it seems like such a simple concept, but that can make such a big impact, for these nonprofits and everything.
Absolutely, because, to give $100 is a great thing.
Yeah.
But to combine that with 50 or 75 women,
right.
or people, and, be able to give $7,500 or, $6,000, it really, it can change a small nonprofit. It can really make a difference that, that they might be able to do things that they could never even think of doing before.
Right.
And for even larger nonprofits, it's always nice to get, a nice donation and, and spread the word about your organization as well.
Yeah. So am I correct? It meets 4 times a year, and that's when people donate their $100?
Yes, we meet once a quarter.
Okay.
So, for instance, we met our second quarter meeting was in May, and then we don't meet again during the summer. We'll meet in September, and then we meet in November. So it's not quarterly, but it's once each quarter.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I get it, yeah.
Just to kind of, not be meeting during busy times.
Sure, understandable.
And the way it works is so simple that if you're a member, and to be a member, you just simply have to write a $100 check or donate your $100 for the quarter prior. So any member can nominate any nonprofit. The only rule that we have is that they have to be a 501c3 organization.
Okay.
And so any organization can be nominated by our members, and our members can each nominate one group per quarter.
Okay.
If we get more than 3 nominations, then we just throw all the names in a hat and we pull 3 out.
Okay.
And then we invite the 3 organizations to come to our meeting, and they're given 10 minutes, 7 minutes that they, kind of tell us about their organization and how they might use the money we donate, and then 3 minutes for questions. And then our members vote, and, then whoever gets the most votes, people either write their check to that organization directly, or we do have a platform called Grapevine that people can do their donations through.
Okay.
And so it's so simple, and you get a chance to really learn about organizations in town, or not just in town, but in this area that you may not know ever existed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's one thing I was going to ask you. So I think you already answered it, but if a nonprofit hears about you and wants to be one of the featured nonprofits, they would just have to find a member to recommend them?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So we don't take nominations from groups.
Okay.
And so yeah, if you would have to, kind of know a member, or we always encourage them to join.
Yeah, even better.
Because a lot of our members were people that belong to organizations that we nominated.
Mm-hmm.
And then they in turn are like, oh, wow, this is a great thing. And then they join.
Yeah.
And so you have to be a member to nominate.
Okay, good to know. So how did you first hear about this, and how did you get involved with this local chapter, I guess?
Well, there's many hundred, and it can be women, 100 men, 100 people, many, like over 600 organizations throughout the country. And so I had a couple of different people invite me to 100 Women Who Care Southern New Hampshire, which is based in Nashua.
Okay.
And, it took a few people asking me, but I finally finally went, and I was just amazed. And the friend of mine that had taken me to it was like, we could do this. And I was like, oh, sure, why not? I love raising money. I love raising money for, good causes. And I thought that this would be a really good way to, again, take my small donation and be able to blow it up. So we started February of 2020.
Oh, gosh.
If you can imagine.
Yeah.
And we had 20 people, and we donated $2,000 to the 1269 Cafe in Manchester. So that was our very first. Then, of course, COVID hit. And we continued our meetings, online.
Oh, nice.
And for I don't even remember how long. But then we, were able to start coming back again live. And so we really have started, we started growing a lot more once we could have live meetings.
Sure, yeah. So how many members do you currently have?
We have approximately 70.
Okay.
So it changes because, again, when someone wants to join, we ask them to complete a commitment form that basically says, I will make this $100 donation each quarter until I send you an email that I don't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
So it's not, we never, we ask, but we never hunt anyone down to make their donations. So sometimes we lose a few, sometimes we gain a few, and we've been steadily growing.
Oh, good.
And we made our last donation from this past quarter is just a little over $6,700.
Oh, nice.
So, that's like 67 members.
Yeah.
But if you're a member, and if for some reason the organization we select isn't something that you feel you can donate to for any reason, you can choose one of the other two organizations that present.
Oh, well, that's a nice option for people.
And so
yeah.
that's what kind of happened this last quarter. For some reason, we had a couple people donate. And we always have people that will donate to all three organizations. So
okay.
we, it's really nice. This particular quarter, we had Heaven's Kitchen, which is based out of Hampstead. And they provide meals to anyone, and it's an amazing organization. It started also during COVID to provide school children with lunches because they weren't going to be at school, and they've just grown. And so they have like a food truck, and they prepare the meals, and then they go to different locations in Derry and Londonderry, and I don't even know where else, but throughout this area, and they will, just give meals out. So, for instance, one of the places that they stop is the Londonderry Library.
Oh, wow.
And, and you find out what time they're going to be there, and you just show up, you let them know how many meals you need, and they give you meals.
Oh, that's great.
And that was just, I just thought that was just such an amazing, amazing thing. And they give, I don't even know how many meals that they do. It's,
wow.
It's hundreds and hundreds a day.
Oh, my
And I
goodness.
believe they do it Monday through Thursday, but you'd have
Okay.
to check their website.
Sure.
But so they, so we're so excited to be able to donate $6,700. And we have a foundation called the Richard M. Schultz Family Foundation that matches our donation by 50%.
Wow.
So for every woman that donates $100, $150 is actually donated to the organization.
That's awesome.
And they, and of course we apply for it every quarter. It's never a guarantee.
Sure.
But it's, yet another way that, we're able to kind of multiply our money.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to, because this is a little bit different than, say, a traditional nonprofit. So there's no like overhead costs, like when you meet. Where do you meet, actually?
I knew I would forget we meet at La Coretta.
Okay.
They donate their space to us.
Oh, nice.
Which was wonderful. We were at Pipe Dreams for a couple of years, and they also had donated their space. And so we meet there, and we have from like 6 to 7 is just kind of a social hour. People can order some food, get a drink or whatever, and then our meetings run from 7 to 8.
Okay.
And we go on the assumption everybody's busy.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we keep a really tight schedule. But yeah, and La Coretta has been fabulous for us.
Good.
And,
that's nice.
And our members absolutely love it.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I was curious about that, like if there was other costs involved, but that's great that there isn't.
We are absolutely zero cash. I have had a few members donate a little bit of money so that we could maybe do mailings on occasion.
Okay.
But we are not a 501c3.
Oh,
we are not.
okay.
We are just a bunch of women.
Oh, nice.
And so, like I said, the checks get written directly to the organizations.
Oh, okay.
And then if you use our platform, they distribute directly to the organization.
That's awesome.
And so, that's what I think is so great about it, is that 100% of your donation is making its way back to the organization that you want it to go to.
Yeah, that's great. I did want to find out, because, YouTube and podcasts can go all over the country. So if someone's in another state and wants to find a 100 Women Who Care near them, is there like a national site they can search to find like their local chapter? Or should they just Google like 100 Women Who Care and it'll give them their local branch? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I don't have the exact website for it, but it's 100. I'm trying to think how it's worded. It's like 100 Who Care. Because again,
Oh,
it
that's
could
right. It
be
could be
men, it could be children, it could be.
Okay.
So yeah, you can just Google it.
Okay.
You
Because
know,
I know when I searched it, it just automatically, based on my location, brought up like the local
oh, good.
one. So yeah. So
That's good.
yeah.
Yes. And also, we have members from, places not, like we
Oh,
have a
okay.
member from Ohio who
Oh,
used to
nice.
live in New England. She lived, I think, in Connecticut. But she
Okay.
was friends with another one of our members and just thought it was a great idea. So
Yeah.
she joined. So
Okay, so you don't have to live necessarily
you
in the
you
location.
don't have to
Okay.
live in the area. You don't have to attend the meetings. You don't have to, it's, like I said, if you write a check, you're
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so, yeah, it's interesting because we have people that come to every single meeting and always have great questions for our nonprofits. And it's really a social experience as well. And then we have people that I've never met that just
Yeah.
send their check in every quarter and
Yeah.
both are wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to setting up a 100, who care, is that what goes into that process as far as like setting up your own?
The national group has like a set of sample
Okay.
items, but again, each and every group is an independent. We don't pay a fee to join.
Okay.
They will list us on their registry,
Okay.
but other than that, everything you do is your own. So you take
So it's pretty independent. It's not like you have some higher up coming in to check on things or that.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. It's all grassroots, and it was actually started by a woman who someone had asked her if she might be able to raise money for porta cribs, so that if a baby was born and they didn't have a crib, they'd be able to give them a portable crib.
Okay.
And so she thought, well, and they were looking for $10,000. And she thought, well, I could ask 10 women to each donate $1,000. I don't know where she was from, but
Yeah.
apparently that's a thing.
Right?
But then she thought, no, I want more people to have the opportunity to be involved.
Yeah.
And so she ended up asking 100 people. And that's, and so she donated $10,000
Wow.
and thought this is a really great idea. And just, it started spreading.
Yeah.
So it really, it's, it's such a simple concept.
Yeah.
And, we have raised, as of today, just over $128,000
That's amazing.
since 2020.
Yeah.
And just women getting together and,
Yeah.
and it's all been kept. I think our furthest away was David's house, which is in near, it's
I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly where it's located.
not Keene. It's
Okay.
It's
out there.
by
out a little
Lebanon.
ways.
It's in Lebanon.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and it's a house that if your child's sick and they're, at the hospital in Lebanon, then,
Okay.
it's a place you can stay. And so that was our furthest one. But all others have been very, very local,
Yeah.
Nashua, Derry, Londonderry. So
Yeah. And I mean, I just think it's cool getting to meet with these nonprofits, have them come in, explain to you what they do. What impact have you seen it have on them? And you've already mentioned a couple, but are there any that really stood out to you that you would want to share with people?
I think one organization, and of course I can't even remember the name of them, the name of the organization. Hang on
That's
one
okay.
second. Well, I think one that hit very close to home. And I think this is actually who you heard of us from, was the Vivian Leone Memorial Foundation.
Yes.
I mean, there's absolutely nothing worse than losing a child.
Yeah.
And to think that you have this quiet little organization,
Yeah.
just sitting off there, and when they need to help, they just step in and help.
Yeah.
And that's an organization that you might, hopefully, you never even
Right.
hear about.
Yeah.
But because of 100 Women, we did, so many of us did hear about it. And
Yeah.
that's one that has been nominated a couple times, and they were selected, one time.
Yeah.
The Suitcase Project, which they did not actually get our donation, but we had members donate to them.
Okay.
But that's like one high school girl.
I actually had her on as a guest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean, just amazing
yeah.
that this girl just
Started
saw,
this non. Yeah.
saw a need and did something about it.
Yeah.
And we had another one called Less Leg, More Heart. And it's for amputees. And it's to help amputees because there's so much more than just the one expense. There's so many things. And to just hear the stories of how people have overcome incredible things. We've had veterans organizations and children. There's one, let's see what I have. I'm trying to think of what the name of it is. They build, Sleep in Heavenly Peace.
Yeah, that's one I'm not really familiar with.
They build beds for children. So a lot of times if a child is going either into a foster home or maybe going to live with a grandparent or whatever the situation is and there's no bed, they bring beds, mattresses, all the
So they're not
sheets,
sleeping on the floor.
so that kids are not sleeping on the floor. And a lot of times, like a grandmother may get 3 kids
Yeah.
and there's only one room.
Right.
And so they have bunk beds and they have, so they presented to us, they actually, it's so hard to choose who to select.
Well,
and
I would think that'd be the struggle is like, they're all so deserving. How do you choose
Yes.
one?
So they actually were not chosen, but we
Okay.
had many, a lot of our members made additional donations.
Okay.
And through the Derry Rotary Club, they do a build once a year.
Oh.
And so, of course, we have some Rotary members on, as
Okay,
100
yeah.
Women. And so we were able to go and help build beds. So we weren't able to give them the whole, our big donation, but they did receive some money. And plus, we got to go help build
Oh,
beds. I mean,
nice.
so just things that you just wouldn't even think of.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the gift in it is our members learn about
Yeah.
these organizations that you just might not have any clue about.
Yeah, I think that's great because that's one thing I found with this podcast is, when I initially started, I didn't really know much about any nonprofits other than like the big national ones you hear about. And through this and through talking to people and people recommending other groups, I've learned that there's so many just in our small state of New Hampshire and the impact they're having and the amazing work that they're doing in so many areas. It's just incredible.
And
So,
there are just so many needs out there,
yeah.
and you don't know what other people need unless you're in that position.
Yeah.
And so we have had the teenage suicide, and the Jason Flood Foundation was one of our real early
I actually just had
recipients.
them on too.
Oh,
The
did you?
episode hasn't released, but they were my last recording. And yeah, learning about them and what they're doing for the youth is just wonderful.
And it just, again, it's just they took a horrible tragedy,
yeah,
and they're doing everything they can possibly do to
Yeah.
to save other
Right.
other teenagers and other young people, and
Yeah.
you might never hear about them, and
Right. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
through our organization, I always tell everybody when we select our three organizations, we kind of say, we unfortunately can only donate to one,
Yeah.
but the exposure you
Yeah.
get,
That's true.
you just never know. We have there's a group called the Makeover Ministry, and they have a warehouse in Manchester, and they just provide clothing and furniture and things to anyone who needs it.
Oh, nice.
And again, they were not one of the ones selected, but they got a few of our members are now volunteering there.
Oh, wow.
And so it's it just is a great
Just
way to
getting the word
network.
out there to people, yeah, and learning
And
about them.
because one thing I've learned is people want to help.
Yeah.
They just often don't know what to do.
Right.
And so if you have an avenue for people to help, they will.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's so great about this, because not only, do people make their monetary donation, but often they do more.
Yeah, that's great. So you made me think of something as you were talking. So the three organizations that present, say they're one of the organizations that doesn't get chosen. Is there like a waiting period, or do they have to wait till like the next year or something before someone can nominate them again?
The way we've set it up is any organization can can present twice in a calendar year.
Okay.
If they're selected, then they have to wait 2 years
Okay.
before they can be nominated again. So
Okay, that makes
very
sense.
often when you have that, really difficult choice of who you're going to vote for, they will get renominated because,
Oh, good. Yeah.
there's just
People want to help, but they can only choose one. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and often they'll come and, they'll either be selected the second time, or again, we are able to, our members will make additional donations.
Okay.
Now, ideally, it is called 100 Women Who Care.
Yeah.
My goal is to have 120 women, because we would,
Okay.
of course, never restrict it, because
Sure.
we like
Want
more
as
money is
many
better.
Yeah.
But if we had 120 members, we'd be able to give $10,000 to the selected organization, and then $1,000 to each of the organizations that were not
yeah.
selected. So that's ultimately the goal.
Yeah.
And so I'm always saying, if you come and you bring 2 friends and so on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully more people will learn about it, because I know I had never heard of it until someone here said, "Oh, you should check out 100 Women
Yeah.
Who Care." So,
And again, it is grassroots. We don't have money to do any advertising or
right. It's just
anything.
word of
We've-
mouth and, yeah, people learning about it kind of organically like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is, so we are growing. And,
Yeah.
but that's my ultimate goal,
Yeah.
is to be able to give away $12,000 a quarter.
And I think this is a great opportunity, too, for people who do want to be involved, but maybe say, oh, I just don't have the time to maybe dedicate toward like some other civic organizations who have a lot of events or things like that. This is some way they could really have an impact. Not to say that those other organizations don't have an impact, but they can have an impact without feeling like they don't have the time to put in, kind of thing.
Oh, exactly,
So,
because if you're busy,
yeah.
you want to do, so many people, especially if you're raising young children or whatever your situation is, people are busy.
Yeah.
And so this is, and through our platform, Grapevine, people can set up automatic, so that they
nice.
just go in and it just automatically once a quarter comes out of their,
Yeah.
their credit card or however they pay. And they can do that and never think about it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's great.
those, I love those because those are the easy ones.
Yeah, right, right. It's just all set.
But then we have, a lot of people that also will write the checks. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we, no matter how you want to be involved, it's possible.
Yeah, that's great.
When we started, there were really just a couple of us doing everything. And, but now we kind of have a leadership board.
Nice.
And so we've kind of spread out all the work so it's easy for everyone. And, and it's fun. And
Yeah.
I've met some amazing people that have both presented and become members.
Yeah.
And, it's sometimes you just really need to get out and see that something good is going on.
Oh, definitely.
And there have been times that I've been like, I don't feel like going out and,
socializing or whatever.
and your heart just gets so filled up when you, because everyone talks with such passion.
Yeah.
Because if they're there, they're in that organization, and a lot of times they've started it, and they are, the main reason it's there. And so when you hear other people's passion, it just is an amazing thing, and it just fills your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and just being able to give back and help, I think, makes you feel so good. Like you said, no matter what you may have going on or what stresses you're going through, you just can't help but feel good when you know you're helping others.
Absolutely.
So. Absolutely.
And like I said before, sometimes it's hard. If you don't have time, if you don't, it's it can be hard. But this, like I said, you can come and socialize, and that can be fun, or you can just donate. But no matter what, you're going to feel the impact.
Yeah.
And, multiplied, because, put a bunch of women together and we can do amazing things.
That's very true. Yes, definitely. Do you have like a favorite thing about being involved with 100 Women Who Care? Probably the hearing the stories and that stuff, I would think.
Definitely hearing the stories, and every time we collect just a little bit more money, and you hit a new goal, and you see it growing.
Yeah.
That is, that's what I love. And the people. It's always about the people.
Yeah.
And whether it be the members or the people that you're meeting, there's just really no downside to it.
Yeah, well, I personally think it's great to hear that it is growing, because that in itself is difficult sometimes. A lot of organizations, it's tough to recruit people. It's tough to grow like that. So hopefully that continues. We will
continue. I know we will continue. Our last several quarters have grown each time.
Yeah.
And it is, because sometimes you think about $100 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you break it down, it's $100 a quarter.
Yeah.
Like I'm always trying to calculate how many cups of coffee is that,
Right. Yeah.
And truly it is, it's something. And, again, we have, people that easily make the donation and, can always donate more. And I know there are some people that struggle to make it, but they, that's such an important part of their life.
Yeah.
That they do it. And,
they find a way. Yeah.
And so the world is full of so many different people. So it's just really cool to bring them together for something good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, is there anything regarding 100 Women Who Care that we haven't covered that you'd like to make sure people know about?
No, I think we have covered just about everything.
Okay.
If you have any questions, we do have a website, and we do have our grapevine, and I've kind
Okay.
of given you some of that
Yeah, I can
information.
make
So,
sure that's all linked in the description so people can find
yeah,
it.
and
Yeah.
and come on out. Our next meeting is on September 3rd,
Okay.
at La Coretta.
Yeah.
And, again, shout
Now
out
that's
to,
the Londonderry Lock, right?
yes, the
Okay.
Londonderry La Coretta. We start our social hour at 6, and you can, grab some food or a drink. And then our meeting runs from 7 to 8. And, and you don't need to, although you can sign up anytime online, you can just walk through the door.
Okay.
Or, like I said, don't walk through and just send us a check.
Right? Yeah. Either way, whatever works for you.
So, we welcome, all women to join us.
Sorry if you already said this, but if there was a husband or man or somebody that wanted, is there like a different organization for them, or could they join yours?
Well, we are strictly 100 women.
Okay.
And in fact, the foundation that matches us 50%, is matching us because we are 100 women
okay.
organization. So yeah, we have kind of toyed around with the idea. Men are welcome to write checks.
Okay.
Like they're just not members.
I see.
They can't vote. They can't nominate. They can't do anything. But we would take checks from men.
Okay.
And I believe that there may be 100 men in Concord.
Oh, okay.
I think I remember hearing that. Or you could start your own.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
that'd be great. All right, well, good to know. Well, then I have two last questions that I like to ask everybody that comes on. One, you've kind of touched on because we've mentioned a lot of nonprofits, but I usually ask which nonprofit you think should be featured next on the podcast, or if there's an individual that's just doing wonderful things in the community that you think should be featured.
Oh, there's so many.
I know that's the
There's
thing.
so many. And I'm not sure how local are you? Like just Londonderry?
Oh no, I'll do.
Nashua?
I've had people come from Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
All right. Then I'm going to give a plug for an organization that we have donated to, but that I also personally volunteer at. And that's the Southern New Hampshire Rescue Mission.
Oh.
And they just recently, about a year ago, opened a women's shelter, and it's called the Hope Center.
Okay.
For women. And so for years, they've had a men's shelter.
Oh,
and they were just about a year ago, they opened a women's shelter, and they are just doing amazing work.
Oh, nice.
And, so I would definitely give a shout out to them. I with a group of my friends, we do a meal. They do many things. They're a homeless shelter, but they have programs to help people getting on the, back on their feet.
Sure.
They have a food pantry, and they also provide meals. They provide breakfast every single day of the week, and they do lunch 4 or 5 times.
And where are they?
They're in Nashua.
Oh, okay.
And so I have a group of friends, and we cook a meal for them every Thursday.
Okay.
And it's it's that whole feeling.
Yeah.
I honestly believe when you volunteer, you might be helping people, but you're getting so much more for yourself out of it. It's, it's kind of, like the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah.
They are just a really heartfelt group of people that the minute I walked through the door, it was like, okay, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
And I've been volunteering there since 2019.
Wow. That's
so
incredible.
that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. I'll add them to the list. And if you have a contact of someone you think I should get in touch with, that would be great too.
I can definitely give that to you.
And then the last question is, what does kindness mean to you? And can you share an example of kindness that you've experienced or witnessed? I know it's a tough question.
Oh, yeah, you should give that to us before. Kindness, is probably the simplest act. It can be a smile, and it can be, the slightest thing that doesn't take any effort, but that sometimes you just get so busy you forget.
Yeah.
And so, kind of keeping it on my 100 women, I have friends that when I do these crazy things, they are always there. And they joke that, when they help me once, they're just, they will be helping me forever. And, if you're willing to help a friend, even if it's to do something nice for somebody else, that's such an act of kindness. And, I am blessed to have, incredible people that, like I said, whether it's cooking a meal or doing 100 Women or whatever, they're always willing to join in. And, and so to me, that's an example of true kindness where, it might not be their thing, but just because it's, it's like, oh, well, you're doing something good, then we're jumping on and we're going to do it with you. And it just, so you're never alone when you're doing things.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That would be my. I'm not sure if that's what you were
No,
looking
that's
for.
perfect. I think that's incredible because, well, just to have friends like that show up for you and because it's important to you, it's important to them.
Exactly.
That's wonderful.
And everyone should be that lucky. And like I said, through 100 Women, I've met some of those people. So I brought, like in the beginning, and, all my friends, that maybe that's just a qualification.
Yeah.
But the people I've met, and in fact, on our leadership group, I kind of asked a couple women that I didn't know that were, they were members, but I didn't know them beyond that. And I'm like, oh, can you, just come over and we'll just, talk about some ideas. And then, while they're there, I'm like, well, you want to be on our leadership team. And,
Yeah.
And there they are. Now they're, now they're kind of part of the team. And, it's just a great thing.
That's great.
That people will step up for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's impactful for me too to hear about this organization, hear about these women, because partly why I started this podcast is you often hear so much about the negativity in the world and maybe some of the unkind people, but this is just a perfect example of the fact that there's so many kind and caring people out there doing nice things. It's just you're not hearing about them.
Exactly. Because it's just not, it's not flashy.
Right, exactly.
It's not flashy, but there's so many people. And no matter what, like I mentioned before, no matter what's going on in your life, when you stop and you take an hour to listen to 3 different stories of how groups are helping other people.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, your politics don't matter,
Right.
Nothing matters.
Yeah.
But the fact that these people, you're learning about, wonderful things that are happening.
Yeah. Well, and I think it makes people more appreciative too, because maybe it makes you take your day-to-day a little less for granted when you see some of the struggles others face,
And a lot of times you can't even imagine the struggle.
Exactly.
You don't know, you don't know what people are going through. You only know your reality.
Exactly, yeah.
And, each person's reality is really a small little bubble.
Yes.
And this does give you an opportunity to And you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
Because every single quarter, we literally pull the names from a hat.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just have no idea
Yeah.
what you're going to get. And
Yeah.
so it just kind of expands your horizons a little bit. And you can't help but feel, like blessed
Yeah.
that, you're able to help.
Right.
And, and that, again, you're, no matter what your situation, there's always somebody.
Right.
And if you can give a hand up to somebody else, that's just the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing about 100 Women Who Care. I think it's a great organization and an easy way for people to get involved, and hopefully more will join at your next meeting.
Absolutely. We would love to have everybody join
Yeah.
and bring a friend.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thank you
you.
again. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed learning about 100 Women Who Care. Thank you so much to Jean for being on the podcast today and educating us more on this organization. If you're local, I highly encourage you to get involved, join, and see all the good that can be done by giving your donation. And even if you're not local, you probably have one near you. Just do a search and you should be able to find that. But I will link the Spread the Love local branch in the show notes so that you can find it. Thank you so much for listening today and supporting the podcast. Please be sure to share it with all you know so more people can have a dose of good in their day. Follow on Instagram and Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and leave a review on your podcast app. I hope that you've been enjoying learning about all these amazing nonprofits and organizations. I know I've really enjoyed it and find it very inspiring, so I hope you do too. And I'll talk to you soon.